Hello, my dear friends, my dear masters, and my dear gods. Welcome to day 9 of the 21-day plant based challenge, my dear friends. And it's pretty awesome that you guys are taking up this challenge so religiously that I'm really proud of you. That you're really making a big contribution to the environment as such, to the animals, to humanity, and to Mother Nature together. So, my dear friends, today is a very special day for us because a very special guest has joined us today. His name is Clive D'Souza from Mumbai, and he's settled in Netherlands right now. So I'm going to introduce to this special guest, and why is he special is you will get to know in a few moments. So my dear friends, let me introduce you to Clive D'Souza, the founder of Be Vegano, an animal lover and an activist as well. So, my dear friends, let us all welcome Clive D'Souza to the platform. Hello, Clive. Thank you so much for coming and joining us in this event, and we are so grateful to you for you to make it to this event before the 21-day plant-based challenge. We would love to know about you. Please introduce yourself,
Sure.
who you are, where you come from, what you do, everything.
Yeah. Sure. No, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Parinita, for the invite as well. I was really happy to see this 21-day challenge that you've kind of, you've made it happen for so many people who can give it a shot, people who've never thought about it, people who've never tried it. So it's definitely a great initiative. And I hope everyone who joins or tries it, even if you can't try it for 21 days, and if you try it for a few days, you might just see the benefits and understand what it's all about. It's not just about health. It's not just about food. It's about your whole lifestyle. It's all of it comes together. So thanks for organizing this. It's hopefully we can have many more such 21-day and maybe even bigger challenges or events happening. So thanks for that. And just about myself, my name is Clive D'Souza, as Parinita already mentioned. I am originally from Mumbai. I'm 31 years old now, and I've been born and brought up in Mumbai for the first 25 years of my life. And then I moved to Abu Dhabi for 3 years. And since the last 3 years, I'm now in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. So I'm a chartered accountant and a chartered financial analyst by qualification. So I'm a totally finance person. And even in the Netherlands now, I'm working with a fintech startup, which is a financial technology organization. And with all of this, you might wonder, what do I have to do with anything that's being discussed today? So there's obviously no relation with what I'm doing currently, but I've been a hardcore meat eater all my life as well. So like right from the time, I remember I would eat food, it was all about meat and non-vegetarian and all of this, and vegetables would simply go in the dustbin. Like if I had a plate with vegetables and chicken and all kinds of non-vegetarian food, then the vegetables would probably be in the dustbin and the meat would be in my stomach. So that's how much of a meat lover I was. I still am today, and of course I'll come to that later. I'm not saying I don't love meat anymore, but it's just that some things have changed. So we'll come to that. And but at the same time, I've always had animals at home as pets. So, you see, there was always a disconnect between my actions and on one hand, and on another hand, what I was doing 3 times a day, which is eating. So, as I said, I've lived in a different, in a few different countries in the last couple of years. And eventually I've realized, that I was always a hypocrite in terms of, I claimed to love animals, and at the same time, I was actually eating and enjoying them. So and I always knew there was a disconnect, but it's just that, I just thought this is how the world works, right? I mean, as a 15-year-old or as an 18-year-old, you just eat what's given to you on your plate by your family. And of course, they're not wrong either, because that's how they've been brought up. It's all culture. So we have this habit of blaming culture and tradition and habit for everything that we do. But now that, in today's world, when, there is internet, there is so much of information available, is that argument even valid? Culture, I mean, can we just say that something is okay to do just because it's culture, just because it's habit, taste, and lack of options. Maybe lack of options might be still a reasonable excuse, let's say, in a given scenario, but culture, habit, tradition, and I'm pretty sure all of us who are streaming on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, I'm sure those can't be arguments for us. I'm sure most of us would be having those options. I'm sure most of us would only have reasons such as as I said, habit, the taste, culture, tradition. That's what my family gives me. It's socially awkward to go plant-based completely, and many other reasons. Like just maybe your spouse is not plant-based, or or the children don't like it. It could be anything. So around 8 to 10 years ago, just in terms of giving you some background, because I am obviously not any different from any of you. I'm just like all of you. But yeah, of course, I've been born in a Catholic family, so obviously we've always been high on meat and dairy, just because of culture again. So, but yeah, as I said, I always had this connection with animals, and I've always had pets, like probably since I was 3 or 4 years old. So I've always loved animals a lot. But around 8 to 10 years ago, when of course we started using internet a lot more, I somehow got this. I won't say, this kind of urge to understand what really happens behind closed doors in slaughterhouses or in dairy farms, and all these things. We are not taught in school. Things that our parents don't teach us, things that our friends don't tell us, things that our teachers don't tell us about, right? And I started researching a lot on the internet, and then it shocked me that the animals that we claim to love as a society, apparently they're the most abused ones globally, right? Whether it's in India, Australia, USA, Canada, we probably have more than 200 countries, and you could pick any country, and every single country is equally responsible for equally badly treating animals. So it's a global phenomenon. It has nothing to do with just one country or one set of people. So I started researching all of this, and eventually I figured that there's something inherently wrong here. How can I love animals on one hand and at the same time just take their life for a 30-second meal, or a 1-minute meal, or a 5-minute meal, or a snack that I don't even need for my health or for my well-being? So I immediately gave up meat. That was step number one. And people say it's difficult, but I think it's not. It's all in the head. If it's all about the reason why you're quitting it. If you're probably quitting it just for your health, let's say you'll probably eat it 5 days. You'll be like 6th day, okay, it's a cheat day. I'll probably have it just once. But if you've made up your mind that you're against an injustice that's happening, then there's no going back. Because for me, animal abuse is as big a social injustice as you could say child abuse or women abuse or domestic abuse or murder or theft. It's all a form of social injustice, right? So if you look at it from that aspect, how can eating meat be okay on a Monday? Is beating up your wife okay on a Tuesday? No, because that's what a social injustice is. We can't do it as per our convenience. You could either say, okay, murdering on Fridays is good, and okay if you just do it once a week. So that's the kind of arguments we give as society, as just people, when we say, I'm slowly cutting down on meat, I'm slowly cutting down on dairy, I'm slowly cutting down on animal products, right? Of course, as an individual, I can understand we humans are very much addicted to habits. So if that's the only option available, that you cut it down gradually, great. But if you have the option to cut it down immediately, then nothing like it. Because in the end, the longer we wait, the longer the abuse continues, for us. And of course, I'm not saying any of us are evil. We're all good, compassionate, kind people. And I'm sure most of us would never harm an animal if there was an animal kept in front of us. How many of us would? Let me give you a simple example. If I give you a set of vegetables and a bread, and I tell you, make a burger with this patty, it's a veggie patty, etc. And on the other side, I give you an animal, a live animal, and I tell you, okay, here you are, here's some seasoning, kill the animal and eat it. How many of us would actually choose killing the animal over the veggie burger? I'm sure 99% of us will, kind of probably go for the veggie burger, right? Because most of us are kind people, we won't eat that. But at the same time, we are okay to pay other people to do the dirty work for us. And when I talk about this, it's not just with meat, it's also with meat, dairy, leather, silk, honey, all kinds of animal products, which we probably don't need today. Maybe 2000 years ago, it was the need of the hour. Maybe at that time, people needed meat and leather to survive in the cold and, all these things. But in today's times, we do not need it. And just like any other culture or tradition, humans evolve, right? Sati was legal and, kind of morally accepted at one point in time. But was it really moral? No. It was a social injustice at that time. So just because it happened 100 years ago or 2000 years ago, that's not an excuse for us to keep continuing doing that, right? And what I'm talking about right now is, very much kind of like a macro level. It's not something that you and I probably care about in our daily lives, right? Because when you're sitting down to eat, you're not going to think about, oh, did this happen 2000 years ago or not? It doesn't matter for us on a day-to-day level. But if we look at the mass abuse of animals, that's 70 billion land animals slaughtered every year for meat, dairy, and leather. 70 billion. Just think about the number for a second. 70 billion every year. So 10 years, 700 billion. And how many humans are there? 7 billion. So just imagine the destruction that we cause. And by the way, that number that I gave you, 70 billion, is just what is recorded. So these are approximate numbers. So it could be that it's 100 billion. It could be 80 billion. It could be 90 billion. We don't know. And this number also excludes fish. So if you count the number of fish, including bycatches and all the fish that die in fishing nets, just the number of fish is over 1 trillion every single year. Can we imagine these numbers? And all we think about is just what's on our plate. But that's what the problem is. The reason these numbers are huge is because one person or one family would eat meat or dairy multiple times a day. You go out, you buy a biscuit, it has cream made from milk. You're in a way purchasing or funding that industry. So that continues on and on. We don't think of meat and dairy as just something that is on your plate. It could be in your snack as well. You could end up buying these gummy bears which have gelatin which come from pigs, for example. So, and of course, I'm not saying we can be perfect. Being vegan or being plant-based, it's not about being perfect, because it's not possible to be perfect. Let's say the houses we live in, they might have also been created by destructing forests, right? So what do we do? Of course, but that's not in our hands. I'm saying let's focus on what's in our hands, which is simply when you go to the grocery store, instead of this, buy this. Instead of, let's say, dairy, buy a plant-based alternative, right? Focus on what's in your hands at least, right? And once we can get rid of the unnecessary abuse, of course, we can always strive towards, better things. And like I said, more political things, etc. But the first thing, the most simplest thing is that you stop what's on your plate, because that is something that you can control. You're paying for it, you're sitting with it, and no one has control over it but you, right? So I'm not asking any of us to go and change anyone else. I'm saying just start with yourself and your family. That's it. And once you do that, people around you will eventually either change or they will criticize you or mock you. But whatever it is, if your values are strong, it doesn't matter. It's like saying if your parents taught you something when you were growing up, right, you would still hold those values irrespective of how people bullied you, etc. You won't change. You will make sure that your values of, let's say, respecting elders, of taking care of children, etc., you'll keep those values. Even if someone says you're wrong, you're going to keep those values. So why not keep these values irrespective of what people say? Because there will always be critics. Try doing one good deed and you'll find that there are 100 people just standing behind to criticize you. So don't worry about feedback, or just go with what your heart says. If you think it's right, and do some research, the internet is there to help you. And trust me, quitting meat, dairy, leather, all these things will be the best decision, because this will probably be the only time you'll be thanked by so many animals without them thanking you personally. They won't be artificially bred, they won't be killed, they won't have a life of torture, suffering, etc. So I know we're talking more about plant-based today, but all of this is interconnected, because to go plant-based, there are two ways to do it. One, of course, is health, which is great. But as I said, health is a very tricky thing, because health isn't really something that comes as a value. Health, I could feel like I want to eat healthy for 6 days a week or 4 days a week or whatever. But I might think, oh, let me have a cheat day here and there, right? So health is a very tricky subject. But when it's about your values, when it's about social injustice, there is no kind of excuse there. So that is why for me personally, health comes second. The first, it's the values. It's like, would I personally go and harm an animal? No. Doesn't matter if it's a cheat day or not, right? So even if it's a cheat day, I'll make sure I'll probably fry some potatoes in oil or whatever, and I'll just make sure even my cheat day is plant-based, right? So of course, and I'm not expecting all of us to love animals equally, right? It's okay for you to not love animals, right? But at the same time, even if you don't love animals, I'm sure we're all against injustices or abuse. So all you have to do is you have to realize that the life of an animal is more important than the value of our taste buds. That's it. I'm not saying the value of an animal is equal to the value of humans. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the value of an animal is much greater than the value of our taste buds. That's it. Right? So once you understand that, then it's really going plant-based, going vegan is the easiest thing in the world. Because then you're not thinking about yourself. All you need to do is step into the shoes of the animal and just think, what if I was in that animal's place? How would I feel being in a small, enclosure, not being with my mother, having my siblings killed in front of me, and knowing that I am next, not being fed, not being taken care of, just in dull, dark slaughterhouses, right? How would I feel? And if you just ask yourself that, you'll get the answer. I mean, no animal wants to die. It's as simple as that. So as I said, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an animal lover or not. If you are, and if you're still not plant-based or vegan, then you have some questions to answer to yourself, right? Because why are you not? What's the delay? If you were living in probably Alaska or the Antarctic regions where there are absolutely no vegetables, maybe then it's understandable. But most of us who live in urban areas, who live even in villages nowadays, you get everything that you need. So there is really no argument against going vegan or plant-based, right? So that's more around the ethical perspective. And secondly, of course, as I said, there is the health narrative as well, which is also important, because as humans, for us, the well-being of our families and people around us is equally important. So we want to make sure that any dietary shifts do not impact our health. So as I said, I was a hardcore non-vegetarian for the first 22 years of my life actually, and then I turned vegetarian immediately. And for the next 2 or 3 years, I was still consuming dairy and dairy products. And then I found out about how bad the dairy industry is. In fact, it's even worse than the meat industry, to be honest. The way we treat our cows and buffaloes and all of that. And then I eventually gave up dairy as well. And if you look at me, I'm quite thin and fit and lean, but that is exactly how I was even before, when I was a non-vegetarian. So for me, I can comfortably say that it's not reduced my health. It's in fact improved a bit more, because I've lost a lot of small issues that I had physically. And again, I'm no doctor, I'm no nutritionist, so I'm not going to give you like medical or nutritional advice, but what I'm giving you is just personal first-hand advice. And it's not just from me, but I'm sure you can probably talk to Parinita or so many other people who are following these lifestyles, who will tell you that you will see benefits. And I'll tell you how as well. So firstly, as I said, any dietary shift from, let's say, a non-vegetarian or a vegetarian diet to vegan or plant-based, as you would call it, it needs some work. Let's be honest about it. There is some level of planning needed. Ideally, it would be simple, but because we are so busy in our day-to-day lives, that makes it a bit more challenging, right? Because then we're like, oh, I have to research this, I have to check the ingredients, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's just so easy to grab a carton of milk or, grab some other paneer and do it. But now I have to look for tofu. So it might seem work, but remember one thing, it's only an effort for the first week or the first month, right? Just like anything new. Let's say you're working in the finance industry and all of a sudden you decide you want to go into marketing. There will be some amount of work, right, that you'll have to do. It'll be maybe a few months of training, etc., that you need. So that is exactly what we need to do. We need to train ourselves to go plant-based, right? And what better time than today? All you need to do is simply go to Google and look for substitutes. What's my substitute for paneer? It's tofu, there's tempeh, there's seitan. There are a lot of things that are easily available in India as well. Let's say tofu is not available. Then what do? Do you go and steal the milk from a baby calf? No, you look for other alternatives. you look for what else can you make. Can you make an aloo palak, something like that, instead of palak paneer? Can you, just skip the paneer altogether and make some other dishes? Can you, instead of putting ghee, either use vegan ghee or use a bit of oil, or just do it oil free, right? So these are small tweaks that you can make just to ensure to cut meat and dairy out of your life. It's just Google. I don't think you need me to tell you what to switch with what. Just pick up the dish that you like, just see what are the ingredients that are coming from animals, and just replace it. More often than not, it's just dairy and meat. There's nothing more than that we use. Probably honey at the most, but honey can easily be avoided. I think it's just ghee, dahi, all these things, and all of these have vegan or plant-based options available today. If you find them expensive, make it at home. It's all possible. Like, again, as I said, it's about the ethical reason that you're, if you're probably doing it just for health, you might want to give yourself a bit of excuses and be like, oh, I'll just have the curd today. I'll skip the ghee, but I'll have the curd. But if you're doing it ethically, you won't compromise because there cannot be any compromise on values, right? Because and then just take some extra time, make your own curd. Again, it's all on Google in terms of how to make vegan curd. So I'm not going to go into the details of how to make it, and also because I don't know how to make it. But what I'm trying to tell you, it's all a Google search away, right? But in terms of concerns around protein, carbs, fats, nutrition. Now, personally, I think there is nothing that a plant-based diet does not have. It is completely sufficient. And I can tell you because, as I said, I quit eating meat, and now I'm like, I ditched meat around 8 years ago, and I've been completely vegan for more than 5 years. So by vegan, I mean no dairy products at all, no honey, nothing, no ghee, no paneer, nothing. But I've been having all of it as vegan products. So, things that are made with plant-based ingredients. So the point here being, so in terms of diet, as I said, you might want to just do a bit of planning. And what could that planning be? Okay, where do I get my proteins from? Firstly, everyone is worried about protein. But if I ask you a simple question, how many people in your life have suffered or fallen ill or died because of protein deficiency? Just think about it. And that will tell you how important protein is. No one. I can guarantee no one. In fact, you might probably be knowing people who have got health issues due to overdose of protein, which is basically what a lot of bodybuilders end up taking, protein powders and all of that, and it causes problems in their kidneys. Right? So what I'm trying to say is protein is important. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying every plant-based food that you eat has a certain amount of protein. You could pick up anything. It will have a small amount or a larger amount. It has protein. You pick up rice, your bread, roti, and most importantly, nuts, legumes, all kinds of dals, broccoli, spinach, tofu, tempeh, seitan. I mean, the list can go on and on. Green peas. So there is protein in everything. And for us, for people like you, me, and probably most people, 95% people who are normal people, just like all of us, who are not participating in bodybuilding competitions, we don't need 200 grams of protein. We just need a regular amount of protein. As they say, proteins are the building blocks of the body. So we just need a regular amount of protein, and you don't need to count your calories also. Just have a whole food plant-based diet. Whatever you like, there are no rules to it, but just make sure you balance your diet. You eat all kinds of vegetables. As I said, I used to throw vegetables in the dustbin, and now there's not a single vegetable that I don't like. I love Karela as well, which I'm sure a lot of vegetarians also may not be liking, but I love Karela, sweet potatoes, mushrooms. I eat every kind of vegetable there is, right? And I don't even worry about the nutrition because, as I said, you consume all kinds of nutrition. It's nature has created it in such a way that it will be nutritious enough. And of course, as I said, you can always research your nutrients as well if you have a concern that, okay, where do I get my protein from? And you'll find out that nuts, legumes, all the things that I mentioned earlier, tofu, tempeh, these are all more than enough for all your protein requirements. Vegetables, etc., are anyways carb heavy, so that's never going to be a concern if you have rice, etc., right? Fats as well, minerals, vitamins. The only thing you need to be a bit cautious about is vitamin B12. Right? So vitamin B12 is the only thing that on a plant-based diet you can have a deficiency on. But that doesn't mean the issue is with the plant-based diet. The problem is with how B12 actually comes through. So you can do your research later, maybe after this call, to understand B12, but I'll just give you an idea. B12 does not come in animal products. B12 is made by microorganisms in the soil, in the dirt. So all these years, for centuries, it used to come through our foods and vegetables. But now, because we wash vegetables such a lot, even before it reaches us, it's washed, and then we wash it at home, then we're boiling it and all of this. And plus there are fertilizers, pesticides, and all these things being used. The B12 has vanished. And hence, B12 gets supplemented into animal foods, be it meat or dairy. And that's how, but people think, oh, for B12, I need meat or dairy. But that's not true. Because B12 doesn't come in animal products, it comes in the supplements that are put into animal products. So even in vegan products or plant-based products like mushrooms, etc., you might have small amounts of B12. You have nutritional yeast as well. But a better way to do it is also if you buy fortified foods that have been fortified with vitamin B12, vitamin D, etc., or just pop a supplement. Now, many people might be against supplements, etc., and I totally agree. Even I am not a big fan of supplements. But if your argument is that you need animal products like dairy or meat for B12, in a way, are you not doing the same thing? Because you're taking dairy, but the dairy animals were supplemented with B12, right? If you see what I mean, you're indirectly taking a supplement, but it's just that the animals have to go through a lot more just because of your B12. So all I'm saying is you can skip the middleman, which is the dairy animal for B12, and just pop in a supplement, or as I said, have mushrooms or whatever. If you don't like mushrooms, have nutritional yeast. You can just sprinkle it on your foods, and it's very much possible. And all your B12 issues, and if you still face them, you can always go to a doctor or a nutritionist and check what's happening, or maybe you need to increase the amount of your supplement. So that's not an excuse, is all I'm trying to say, because this is something that very often comes up. The first thing that people think is, oh, if I quit meat or dairy, what about my B12? What about my iron? What about zinc? It's all there in a vegan plant-based diet. In fact, if you just Google, you'll see there are so many researches that confirm that a plant-based diet is suitable for all stages of life. Infancy, which is basically children, teenagers, adults, of course, old people, even lactating women. So which means even pregnant women can have a plant-based diet. There is nothing wrong with the diet. And of course, being plant-based or being vegan doesn't mean you are healthy necessarily. I could have potato chips all day and say I'm a vegan, but that doesn't mean I'm healthy, right? So it's up to each of us to manage our diets in a healthy manner. But what's important is what is part of the diet. That is what you need to decide. Do you want to be a part of a society which abuses, exploits animals just so that you can have a snack, which, you'll probably have a snack, it's over in 2 minutes, but for that, an animal had to lose her baby for dairy or meat or whatever it could be. So that's basically my small message to all of you. If you're a non-vegetarian, please start taking steps, do your research, reach out to me if needed, reach out to Parinita, ask us what is your query, because if I could do it, someone who's had meat all his life, every single day, every single meal, there's not been one meal or a fast or a diet that I've done for the first 22 years of my life where there was no meat. And I loved it. I mean, so if I can do it, there is no reason why anyone else cannot do it, right? It's just that simple. And of course, I've done nothing great. All I did was, when I go to the grocery store, instead of this, I pick that. It's really that simple. A bit of Googling, a bit of maybe asking questions to people like Parinita, who might be able to guide you if you have questions. And that's it. And you don't have to worry about your children or your parents, etc. Of course, you are right to be concerned, but just do some research. Ask questions to nutritionists or me or Parinita or whoever you think might be in a better position to help you, because we've been there. At least in my case, I have been there and I've transitioned. And trust me, when you make up your mind, just like anything else, be it for an exam or for life, going plant-based is the easiest thing in the world. And trust me, you'll thank yourself for life. I mean, both from your health perspective and more importantly, from the ethical perspective.
That is really wonderful, Clive. It was lovely, lovely, lovely hearing you out. Like what your life has been and what you have learned in this life. That's an amazing journey. And tell me about this store that you have put up in Mumbai, Be Vegano. Tell us
Yes.
all about it.
Yeah. So basically, I've started. So yeah, as I said, I mean, I've been vegan now for a good amount of time, and I realized that the easiest thing for people is to give excuses, and that was for me as well. Even I thought, okay, dogs are meant to be loved, other animals are meant to be eaten, or milk to be stolen from them. But then excuses are easy to give away. So I started vegano.com, which is vvegano.com. Uh, with the idea that okay, let's give people the option. Once maybe if people have the option to look for, let's say, a vegan or a plant-based meat instead of an animal meat, or a plant-based dairy product instead of a plant-based dairy alternative, sorry, instead of a dairy product, or a plant-based chocolate instead of a dairy chocolate, maybe it might make it easier for them to transition, right? Because then you don't have an excuse. You can't say that, oh, where do I get these things? Because right now what we do is we deliver products pan-India for at least the non-perishable products, ranging across vegan meats, vegan dairy products, like vegan ghee, vegan ice creams, all kinds of dairy products, chocolates, grains, and all these things. So everything on our platform is vegan. So you don't need to go and check the ingredients for all. You can blindly come on vegano.com and buy whatever you want, and you can be rest assured that it's all plant-based. As I said, it may not necessarily always be healthy, because if you're going to buy a snack, snacks are meant to just be a one-time thing. But if you choose the right things, you choose the healthier products, then yes, of course, you can avail all the benefits of a plant-based lifestyle. But trust me, as I said, to be vegan, you don't need to buy anything from me. Everything you need is available at your nearby grocery store, right? As I said, only if you want to try a vegan ice cream or try something exotic, etc., or you have a party, you want to order something, you can then come and see. But for your daily lifestyle, there is nothing you need from me or from any other vegan store. Everything is available at your nearby kirana store, right? You just go there, skip out the dairy, the store is vegan, pretty much. All the grains, all the rice, lentils, everything is vegan. So there's nothing you need to buy from anywhere. So if people tell you vegan foods are expensive, it's not. It's what we have always been eating. Idli and mendu vadas are vegan. When did they start getting expensive? Yeah.
Absolutely. So basically, all the non-vegetarians, they really need to transform themselves into plant-based. And Pyramid Spiritual Society is a 100% vegetarian society, and there are so many people who have turned from meat eating or being vegetarian or any other, the meat eating or vegetarians. They've already transformed into vegetarianism. So they're already halfway, I guess maybe just 10 or 15%. If they just make the lifestyle changes, I think we are all, there over there. So, Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement, if I have to introduce to you, my dear friend Clive, this particular society has been founded by my father, Brahmashri Subhash Patriji, and he has founded this organization in 1992, and since then we have been propagating meditation and plant-based food at the same time, and these two are the pillars of Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement. So we include spirituality and plant-based food, and make this super duper successful two things that we all need in our life. Clive, do you meditate?
I try, but I'm not very good at it. I'll be very honest. I know meditation is. So my wife has started meditating quite a bit, and she keeps telling me, but somehow I've been too busy just with work. I know that's not an excuse, because they say when you meditate, it gives you more time. So I know all of.
It does.
Somehow I haven't been able to kind of bring it to my own lifestyle. And as I said, we're all not perfect, but we all need to kind of get to it. But yes, I can guarantee for sure, because I know people who meditate a lot, and I've seen a lot of interviews of people who are successful, and there is one thing always common with them. They all meditate. That's definitely something that I see and I get inspired by. But as I said, we're all stubborn in our own ways, right? As I said, I could switch from being a meat eater to a vegan quite easily, But for me to meditate is still a challenge. But yes, I totally understand the benefits. But yeah, hopefully I can get there someday soon.
There's never a better day to start, Clive, to do meditation. I just hope that we invite you to the Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement, and we all together need to meditate for Mother Earth and do the universal bit in meditation and do the action bit by consuming plant-based food. So both of them will really help us in our life by being an inspiration, by being an example of humanity, by being an example of this inspiration that we can give to others. And meditation has helped a lot of people in many zillion ways as much as possible. So this is something that each and every one of us must collaborate in our life so that we can really reap the benefits. It has many benefits. Just like plant-based food doesn't have a single disadvantage, meditation doesn't also have a single disadvantage. And let me tell you, Clive, I think we need to start doing meditation from today onwards. Please start doing meditation. And if you do not mind, can we do just a short 10-minute meditation for now?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. And the way of meditation that we do is just clasp your hands like this and close your eyes and start observing your breath. And as and when thoughts come to you, just cut them off and again start observing your breath. That is all there is over here. And let's start this meditation right now. How did it feel, Clive?
Yeah, very nice. 10 minutes of silence was good. Yeah, because normally we don't, otherwise, we don't get any time for silence or, to yourself at all. So yeah, it feels good when you do it. You just need to take out some time, I think, every day, and that's it.
I mean, this time that we are talking about, we are actually giving it to ourselves, and we are actually doing a favor to ourselves when we are giving time for self-care, self-love, and self-appreciation, and to give ourselves that space to evolve and to grow from inside, and to get the clarity in our thinking or in our mind. So I think that is where meditation helps us a lot to relax and to be mindful of what we are doing, what we are saying, what we are talking, and everything else. So I'm also conducting this weekend meditations. This is just for you to know that if any of you would like to be interested in doing meditation, please do join me in these weekend meditations. I'll send you the details as well. And finally, thank you so much, Clive, for making it today with us and sharing your story. You have been such an amazing person for your journey, your thinking, your perspective is so fantastic. You are such an inspiration for all of us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, just a last word to everyone. I mean, just like Parinita mentioned, it's never a better day to start than today. So even if you can't get there 100%, it's okay. You can take steps. But the main thing is that in your head, you need to know that I will get there. It can take you a week, it can take you a month, it can take you 6 months, but that's fine. But in your head, you need to be clear that I will do it, and eventually you'll get there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Clive, for being there with us, and we would love to see you more in these sessions or these meditation sessions and whatnot. You can even do meditation at home. You don't have to join us at all. But then please try to make meditation a part of your life, because it's really important. And these two aspects, we really put stress on meditation and plant-based diet. That's it. We don't need anything else.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And yes, my dear friends, tomorrow is a Valentine's Day. It's the day of love. It's a day of appreciation. It's a day of fun, my dear friends. And tomorrow, we are all going to join together in this beautiful Mother Earth meditation from 5 to 6 p.m. IST, my dear friends. And we are all going to send our love to humanity. We are all going to send our love to the animals, to plants and trees, and to Mother Earth. Let us send our love to all the elements that really we need to be grateful for. So let's do a Mother Earth meditation, let's do a compassion meditation, let's do a love meditation tomorrow from 5 to 6 p.m. as we all meet in the 21-day plant-based challenge. Thank you so much, everyone. Wish you all a very advanced happy Valentine's Day wishes. And to you also, Clive, wish you a very, very, very happy Valentine's Day. And
I wish you the same.
Thank you. And we are all here to spread the love, spread the compassion, spread everything that, can make our lives a better life and make Mother Nature more happy and more happy and more happy. Thank you so much, Clive. And we will see you again next time, whenever it's possible, whenever you would like to come. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.